And now, The Rock Newman Show.
Folks, welcome back. And as promised, in this particular segment, we have actor extraordinaire, entrepreneur, musician, writer, healer, and a hungry Malik Yoba.
That's right.
Malik Yoba is hungry. Now, look, here's how I figure this thing. We are at Busboys and Poets at 14th and V Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. I have been telling y'all that not only do we have great conversation here, but we really do have extraordinary food. They serve incredible meals here in an environment that's inclusive and we embrace all. So, because I heard he was hungry, I asked a waiter to please come. The waiter is there standing. Have you decided what you want, Mr. Yoba?
There's so many options.
It is.
It's early. What time is it?
And they're all good. It's 11 o'clock now. I mean, they've got a whole brunch thing going on. You just let us know.
Let's see. So many choices.
Yeah.
Let me go with, I'm going to try to keep life simple. Let me have some sweet potato pancakes, please. And
now with those sweet potato pancakes, what kind of syrup is that? Because that's a special syrup. Maple syrup, but it's a special maple. It's real deal.
It's 100% pure maple. And I'll take some turkey sausage, please.
You want to
Can I drink on here?
Oh, absolutely, I can drink, man. Absolutely.
An adult beverage?
Yeah.
Some milk, please. A mimosa, why not? Let me live on the edge.
So there you go. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Man. Let's do it.
All right. We're going to try to make sure you're not hungry anymore.
Yes, sir.
Malik, let me, in the research, our producers say actor, entrepreneur, musician, writer, and healer. First, let's go musician.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
So my father was a jazz musician. He played guitar. So I grew up playing guitar. I played trumpet. I played saxophone. I've been writing music and performing music for a long time, since I was a little kid. And so the music, I was actually pursuing music. I grew up doing musical theater. So music's always been a big part of my life. And I was actually pursuing music when my acting career took off. And at the time, it's hard to, it's one of those, you got to choose one. Because it's all perception, how people receive you. So it's how they receive you first. Like if New York Undercover was a musical, or Cool Runnings, my first films, then people would have been like, oh, that guy is a music, So the most I was able to do, if you go back to the movie Cool Runnings, there was a Jamaican bobsled chant that I wrote.
Oh, really? You wrote that?
I wrote that. That was part of my audition. I came up with it for my audition. And then it ended up in the movie. It ended up on the soundtrack. I ended up with a record deal with Columbia. So I've actually done a lot of stuff, more stuff in the West Indian community musically.
So that particular, you remember that chant?
Of course, man. I wrote it. I've been paid.
This is the Rock Newman Show.
Enough people say, no, they can't believe Jamaica. We have a bobsled team. We have the one Teresa and the one Junior, Yul Brenner and the man Sanka, the fastest of the whole Jamaican sprinter. Go to Olympic fight for Jamaica. I write that, man. I write that, sir. I write that tune, man.
This is the Rock Newman Show.
Yes.
And I love some oxtails and some curd goat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Okay. Man, there's much to talk about. New York Undercover. You burst onto the scene, and a whole lot of women of every persuasion that I know in my life used to always kind of have a regular refrain. Malik Yoba, he fine. That's a fine black man. Okay, now, just tell me about that.
My sister's sitting over there.
And she's a fine sister.
And she's laughing. I mean, man.
No, I don't know. I want you to tell me.
Man, at the end of the day, man, it's you take it all as it comes, meaning it's part of it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that a lot of people aspire to that. Like a lot of men, right? A lot of boys say, when I get up, I want to get the money. Everybody wants to be James Bond.
Yeah.
You want the tuxedo, you want the beautiful woman, you want the car, you want the gun, you want the adventure, that kind of thing. And it's cool. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being 20-something and discovering that part of myself. But
that women found you attractive and
see,
appealing.
the thing is, man, growing up in New York City, and I was always older, appeared older than I was.
Okay.
So I had a lot of attention even before television and film, to be honest. And it's something that I've always had to deal with on a certain level. I say struggle with on a certain level, for sure.
Okay.
And it's something that I think a lot about, particularly with young people. In fact, the other day someone was talking to a little boy. He was probably 7. And they were telling me how cute he was, and he was cute.
Yeah.
And I was telling them how I remember being that little boy in our neighborhood growing up in Harlem. And some of the older girls in the neighborhood that might have been 14, 13, telling me they thought I was cute.
Yeah.
And what that did to me. And how...
What did it do to you?
I think that it could, inflate the ego a bit. I think that you learn to fish with a net. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
as you
instead
get
of
older,
just dropping one hook.
Yeah, you
just
start
dropping that.
realizing, like, wait a minute, I can have all this. And so you can be gluttonous. You could, you can dabble. But in all honesty, it's one of those things. I have a lot of young dudes that come up under me that I mentor.
Right.
Some are successful in business in their 20s, like particularly one guy, he's very successful in the tech world. And he comes to me on a regular basis, like, well, what do you think I should do? And, I just wish that there were different messages around that piece. Because as I came up.
And what would you want the message to be?
Well, I was told I should have as much as I can, right? So a lot of guys that I admired and looked up to, men who were in power positions, men who were public figures, who I admired. And I looked at and said, I want to be like you, because your public image tells me you're married, you got a wife, you're an upstanding dude, but then you're also trying to get with my girl in front of me.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
That's real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a lot of things. It's not to judge. It's just an aspect of ourselves. I think as a man, it's difficult for us in general to control ourselves when it comes to our sexuality.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult for us to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think that, oftentimes, any young. So when I see Tiger Woods get into a situation, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
You got $1 billion, you're 20-something years old, and the world's saying here.
Sure.
And everyone's looking at you like
you know what,
crazy.
Malik? That's a fascinating response you give, and it makes me think about something. It makes me think that for multiple reasons, I said growing up I didn't want to get married. Where it started out was I had a brother that had 8 kids in 8 years. He got married and had 8 kids in 9 years. And at one point, he moved back in our house, and he had 3 kids and was working on a 4th one. So I heard all these baby cries, diapers being changed, room smelling funny, all that kind of stuff. That's what I saw marriage to be. So I started saying, man, I don't want to get married. And then later, about 10 years old, I grew up in the Catholic Church. I always had questions. I always was one to ask questions. I was like, why are we in here at this Catholic church when we don't speak Latin and we don't understand Latin? So why the hell are we even here? My mom, shut up, boy, and just kneel down. Well, I became an altar boy and started to speak a little bit of Latin. And my favorite thing to do was to serve as an altar boy at weddings because you get a tip. So the dudes would give you a tip. But when I was back there multiple times, I would hear these guys that were getting married, and they had all the guys that were their groomsmen, and they were talking about the bachelor party the night before, and all the things that they did, and all the things that they were going to do after the wedding was over with, including the groom.
Right.
And I stand out there serving as an altar boy and look at him. He was saying, for sickness and in health, and I will obey, and I'll be faithful for the rest. And I'm like, that dude is lying.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was 10 then, 10, 11, 12 years old. That's why I'm saying, like, I ain't never going to stand up there because I don't want to, I don't want to tell that, tell that lie.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of influences that we have, I think, that help contribute to the problems between men and women.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And for you to say, something else that contributes to it is those kinds of, so people need to be careful about what they say around young, impressionable minds.
Yeah, and so for my young brothers that are coming up, I don't preach to them and tell them don't do it. I just talk to them about how you're going to feel. Like, where do you want to put your energy?
Yeah.
Like, you're successful over here, and so, yeah, you got your girl living with you, but you're telling me that you're still doing your thing. And I get it. I get how hard that could be.
Right.
And so I just try to encourage them to be more mindful, just be more thoughtful about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if, but I remember being really disillusioned by my life. People think they take it for granted, losing anonymity.
Yeah.
But, you travel around the world, and everywhere you go, your name and your reputation precedes you, and your image and people's thoughts about you, and all that psychic energy that people could put towards you, and how that influences you. So,
is that something? When we never, when you come on the Rock Newman show, you never kind of know which street we're going to travel upon.
we're gonna go down the whole street.
Is that something that made you question ever whether or not human beings are by nature monogamous?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a conversation, people have ad nauseum, all over the world, right? And no matter where I've been, that's a conversation I always find myself in. So yeah, it's become a bit of an obsession of mine, actually, in terms of, I have a piece called "What's on the Hearts of Men," which is a play that I co-wrote with my brother, that really explores, what does it mean to be a man? How do you know when you become a man?
Yeah.
Is it about money? Is it about success? Is it about power? Is it about women? Is it, you know what I mean? And I think those are important questions that a lot of young guys, particularly men that are young boys that are growing up without fathers, particularly young men in our community, and this is true across the board. I think that it's important to be thoughtful about that urge, whatever that thing is that makes us feel like we need to have that and that and that and that. And society's telling you you're supposed to have one, and the inner conflicts people have, and just across the board, I think that it's important to acknowledge that there is something else at work. And there have been all kinds of studies on this. Is it biological? Is it just men? Is it women? I think it's both.
What does it mean to become a man?
I'm still asking myself that. I ask myself that question every day. I mean, I think that at 46, I certainly, have my own experiences, but I don't feel. I feel like I'm still a work in progress every day. And I honestly give a lot of thoughtful consideration to this on a regular basis.
Cool. You are in a play here in Washington,
Yes,
D.C.,
sir.
which is what brings you here, Warner Theater.
At the Warner.
At the Warner Theater through when?
Tomorrow, Sunday.
It's
So
last day.
today
So,
is Saturday. Tonight, this afternoon.
This afternoon, tonight.
8, and then tomorrow, 3 o'clock and 7:30 at the
It
Warner.
is called Deranged.
It's fun.
You're in it. Robin Givens is in it.
Robin's in it.
Tell us a little bit about that play
It's
and why
a
folks
fun
should come
little
see it.
silly, because if you need to laugh, just come and,
Sure.
it's not highbrow comedy. It's not, like we're doing, something real heady. It's a fun little show about, I play a guy who's a writer who's married to a woman. We have a small child. She's overwhelmed by life as a new mother and a busy husband. And we decide to get a nanny, and the nanny's Robin Givens, who plays the title character. She's a little touched.
Deranged.
She's a little touched, but it's fun. It's a lot.
Did
of fun.
Mike Tyson write the title?
Mike is in the show. Mike comes every night as my security. No. He's not. No, I mean, of course, people wanted to make that association. But Robin's great. She's a great comedic actress, which I don't know if people really know that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
it's fun. It's silly and it's fun.
You know what? You did New York Undercover, and certainly no one could accuse that of being a comedy. That was real serious. It has been said that comedy is the toughest of acting. What say you?
Well, I mean, it's rooted in the same place. At the end of the day, comedy is truth and drama is truth. So people say that. I think people who think it's tough is because you try to be funny. I think anytime you try to do something, you can run up against like what happens when you try, as opposed to doing it and being it, if that makes sense. Right. You know what I mean? I think that most people don't know me as a comedic actor, but I'm a pretty funny individual. And every opportunity I get to infuse comedy in my work, I do it. I like to do more comedy. So even in this show, I do some, I find moments to, mix it up.
If there were one actor that you looked at and said, man, I'd like to reach his skill of proficiency and efficiency with his tool, who would that be?
The guy in the mirror when I look in the mirror.
Really?
There's no one that I admire like that. I mean, there's people, when I look at Daniel Day-Lewis, it's about his whiteness and his opportunities. He's a phenomenal actor, but how many black actors get those opportunities to play those types of roles?
Yeah.
It's very rare that we get to transform into different time periods, into different characters, physically. You know, to be an actor means about, you know, using your full instrument, right? So it's your voice, it's your body, it's, you know, it's your mind, it's your intelligence, it's your imagination, it's your empathy, it's all those things. And so unless I write it, so, you know, before I came over here, I have a show, and I'm a writer. So I recognize that the best roles for me that are in front of me right now are the ones that I write for myself. So in my one-man show, I play a 65-year-old Jewish woman. I play an old Italian guy. I play a French dude. I play I do, like the first scene I wrote, I play an entire family. I'm this English kid whose mother's Jamaican, father's Nigerian. And I wrote that because it's very difficult to be three people at once and to present that in terms of talent. And so if I don't create those opportunities for myself, no one's going to give me that. And so when the show is presented, it's only been presented once back in '08 in Indianapolis. I'm going to do it again in New York and some other cities around the country and around the world. But it's something that I've been working on for a long time. It's one of those things that, you know, no one's calling me up saying, you know, it happens occasionally. Like I got to play Martin Luther King in the movie Betty and Coretta, which is one of the rare times I get to really transform and voice work and physical work, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't really covet the next man's career. I really feel that I'm on a particular path that's uniquely mine, and it's up to me to keep showing up.
The saint and the devil in me both forced me to ask you to give us a little bit of that 65-year-old Jewish woman.
No.
No?
No, not at the moment. She's sleeping.
She's sleeping? All right. She sleeps late in the late in the day.
She's sleeping, yeah. She's sleeping right now.
Okay.
But no, I work, you know, it's not devil and saint, man. It's one of those things that I honor it. I honor the ability to channel, because that's really what it is. It's the ability to truly pay attention, to stay curious, to listen with your whole self, you know. So it's not just, let me give you a voice, but it's the inflection, it's the characterization, it's the, you know, it's all of it for all of these people. But I work on it on a regular basis. And 2014, it's like one of those things I have to do. You know what I mean?
I heard someone who is characterized as a great actor say that he was greatest when he had a great director.
No question about it. No question about it. Great writing and great directing. It's true. It's 100% true. I just did a film this summer with a guy who I consider a great writer and director, a guy named David Hare. David Hare is an English playwright primarily. It was for the BBC. He's been nominated for a couple of Oscars for like The Hours and The Reader. Nicole Kidman got an Oscar for the Hours, something he wrote. He didn't direct those. But when I received this script, every now and again you'll read something that you just, there's a poetry to it. There's a rhythm. There's a musicality to it that where you literally can't put it down, because it just takes you on this journey. And when I found out who was in it, Christopher Walken, Helena Bonham Carter, Ralph Fiennes, you know, Winona Ryder, I was like, I didn't even read it. I was like, if they're in it, I'm down. And then I read it, and I was like, absolutely. And then I had the opportunity, the great fortune, to be directed by this man who wrote this great piece. And you know, it's so rare for me. I've worked with a lot of good directors, but then every now and then you read something that you just think is great. It's amazing. And the ability it's like a sculptor. You know, I want to paint this picture in this particular way and shade this way. That's what a great director can do. You can deliver the performance and go, okay, so in this moment, temper it just this much, or speed it up here, slow it down here, or think about this, and, you know, and how they approach it visually. How, you know, putting, you know, a certain lens on you, or a certain angle, or a certain location, or a certain wardrobe, all those things can inform a performance on film. And the same thing is true in theater. So yeah, I absolutely. And I direct. And so I know what that is for me as a director when I see talent. I see someone give a performance and know that there's other colors and shades and energy that they can bring to it. And so, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like working with non-actors. So there's a few things that I've written, and I like working with non-actors because people who don't think that they can do it, I love showing them that you actually have this in you.
Right.
And let me help you bring it out. Yeah. So.
Okay. Very, very fascinating, brother. I'm glad you are here. There's much more to talk about with Malik Yoba.
Where my food at? Where my food at, man? I'm gonna
bring the man his food.
I'm gonna bring through some poetry. I'm hungry. The end. How's that?
That's good. Now bring the food. Here it comes. We'll be back in just a moment.
Is that my mimosa? Come here, baby.
My baby drives a handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the Markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a handcuff.
Hello to all my friends in the DMV. I am Rock Newman from the Rock Newman Show. I want to tell you about the MGM Grand National Harbor, the most exciting project to come to the District, Maryland, or Virginia in quite some time. You're going to have great fun. Come on down, support this project with all you have. It is going to be wonderful for the area. We're going to increase our tax base. We're going to get funding for the police department, for ambulance, for fire, for education. It is really a project that is going to benefit our area. Folks, we want to support in a very strong DMV kind of way this great project from the MGM Grand National Harbor.
And now, The Rock Newman Show.
Folks,
Yes, sir.
welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. Live at the Rock Newman Show.
Amen.
Live where when folks are hungry, we
Amen.
feed them because we up in here
Amen.
at Busboys and Ports at 14th and V Street.
That's what I'm talking
There's
about.
a place across the street that the visionary owner, Andy Shalal, owns. It's called Eatonville. In case y'all didn't hear, Andy Shalal threw his hat in the ring this week
Yeah, well, that's
to
it.
become the mayor of Washington, D.C. I happen to think he would be an incredible leader for this city, visionary and all the rest. He would, I think, do for this city what he has done for these restaurants, and that is to create a place where everyone feels comfortable from every walk of life. Someone asked me, what did I think he might be able to do? I talked to them about the first time I ever came in here, and I saw this elderly white lady, silver-haired white lady, having a very animated and friendly conversation with a brother who had dreads down to his ankles. You don't find that in a whole lot of places, but you find it at Busboys and Poets. And it is an environment and a culture that Andy Shalal fosters. That's in his DNA. And I think he can do the same thing for this city and bringing everybody together, become a great and visionary leader. There's much food for thought for that, and hopefully you're enjoying those sweet potato pancakes.
What I need you to do, bro.
Tell me what you need.
To ask your question real slow.
Okay. All right. And to warn my audience that the answer might come even slower. So and this is kind of deep, but let's go.
I love this. I love this concept, man.
Let's kind of get on in it, while you get nourished. It says on here, healer. Do I ever want to talk to you about that? Tell me about healing.
Talking too fast, brother. You're asking questions too fast. I'm going to help you. No, what we do as artists is we heal people.
Yeah.
You walk into a space, a dark room, a theater. If the show speaks to this intention, and sometimes it's unintentional, people's lives can be transformed. I mean, we've all seen something or heard something that made you see the world a little bit differently.
Yeah.
It could be a song, you could read a book, you can look at a painting, and all of a sudden you feel different.
Yeah.
And you move with a different intention, and hopefully there could even be some resolution in your life. So in the simplest way, that's really what I mean when I say that I take seriously what I do. And every show you do doesn't necessarily do that, but
sure.
It's something that if I'm writing, like when I talk about this show, Harlem to Hollywood, which is my one-man show, or What's on the Heart of Man, or, I did a show right around the corner at the Lincoln Theater called Acoustic Chocolate, which dealt with a man who was dealing with mental illness.
Yeah.
Even my one-man show takes place in the therapist's office, so the old Jewish lady is a therapist, and through talking to her about my problems, these characters arise.
Yeah.
There's a transformative aspect of that. I remember being in South Africa in 96.
Yeah.
4 years after apartheid ended. I'm in Cape Town. And a 65-year-old white woman comes up to me and says, my 13-year-old grandson wants to be like you because of that role you play on New York Undercover.
Wow.
To me, that was everything.
Yeah.
I went back to L.A. and went to the president of Fox at the time and said, do you realize a 65-year-old white woman in South Africa
Okay.
is saying that her 13-year-old grandson wants to be like me because of a role I play on television? Now, playing a father on that show, I took very seriously because my father was a very serious cat. Yeah. And so there were things that I would do as a character, as an actor, that I knew would help people. Something as simple as telling the little boy to kiss me. So it might have been written, he drops him off at school, and I'd be like, give me a kiss. It wasn't written, but I knew that was powerful to see that image, because you don't see that. Right. Hugging a kid or, cooking food. Yeah. In scenes where they might have said, JC prepares a TV dinner for G. I'm like, no, go get real food, real vegetables. We're going to cut this up in the scene because I knew the message we were communicating. And people would come to me and say, man, because of that relationship you have with your son on that show, it's helped me with my relationship with my kid. Or how the kids would say, I tell my father to sit and watch this with me so we could be like you guys.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Malik.
Slow question. Slow.
Do your thing.
Go ahead.
As I hear
I'm talking about
you
Newman.
Say and communicate these things that are near and dear to your heart. It makes me want to ask you the question.
That's what I'm talking about.
How come it's so damn difficult for somebody like yourself and many other black actors and actresses to consistently get good work in Hollywood on the big screen and on the television?
That's true for everybody, not just black actors.
Okay.
So, you know, history is filled with a bunch of talented white folks that can't get a job consistently as they like it.
Okay.
At the end of the day, man, our father always said, build your own generator so when they turn off the power, you still have lights.
Uh-huh.
I've never been interested in just being an actor.
Uh-huh.
So when I was a kid, he used to say, you need to focus, boy.
Yeah.
But when I was playing football, baseball, basketball, racing BMX, being in the drama club, you know, all the different things that I did, I was focused on that at a particular time. So I just encourage people to be a multi-hyphenate. You should learn to write. You should learn to produce. You should learn to direct. Be an entrepreneur. Because as an actor, you are the CEO of You Incorporated.
Yeah.
And you better handle yourself as a business and understand what your worth is and all the different lanes you can play in. Now, granted, many people that I work with really only want to do that one thing.
Yeah.
And I pray for them because I don't know how to operate that way.
Wow.
But you know, in 20 years of doing this since my first big film, there's not been a year that I haven't worked as an actor.
Okay.
Is it always at the level that I would like to?
Yeah.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But it has been consistent. But I think at the end of the day, people have to create their own. I mean, we still are waiting on other people to give us jobs. And even when you do write your own stuff, it's hard to get the distribution or the financing to do a project, which is why, you know, you have to be half crazy to want to do what we do.
Sure.
And
it's a business of rejection.
Absolutely. But you know, at the end of the day, when a person gets up in the morning and writes from their experience, if the writer doesn't look like you and doesn't have your experience, most likely they're not going to write your experience.
Yeah.
And then when they want to sell this thing, they're not selling your experience. So at the end of the day, we still have to continue to do us. I just did my first Nollywood film, which is Nigerian film industry.
Okay.
And that's led to opportunity to do some films in Ghana. And I've got some other opportunities in South Africa. And so for me, I'm at a place where I'm also looking at Africa in general for business as an African American, that I feel there's not only an opportunity but a responsibility that we have to seek out our own kind in that way. You know what I mean? And just always keep your eye on the prize. I hear a lot of people say, "Hey man, what you doing? What you working on?" And you tell them, "Oh man, I'm good to see you working."
Yeah.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Am I not supposed to be working?
Yeah.
Are you working?
Yeah.
Because even if I'm not on set, I'm working.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm writing, I'm producing.
Trying to get somewhere.
Always. I'm working on a real estate development project in Baltimore.
Yeah.
You know, I've been wanting to do real estate development my entire life, and I have an opportunity to do that. Some stuff in New York, you know what I mean? So I'm just always staying hungry and looking for opportunities, even within the opportunities. You know, I'm doing, marketing for AARP right now.
Sure.
And I'm writing a web series. I actually wrote the web series. I'm waiting for approval and script, and I'll produce it and I'll direct it. That opportunity came when I was doing Why'd I Get Married? And we were shooting exterior shot, and the holding area was this space like Busboys and Poets. So you walk around, you're like, man, what is all this stuff on these walls? And somebody said it's an ad agency. I said, really? There's a check in here and I'm gonna get it.
Yeah.
And so they're like, no, Tyler's ready. I said, when Tyler's ready, y'all call me. So I snoop around, and there's a conference room with a meeting going on. And I look in the meeting, and I get invited in because I'm Malik Yoba.
Yeah.
So I sit in the meeting.
It's good sometimes.
And then I start contributing to the meeting.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how they're trying to reach black women 25 to 50 that make X amount of dollars. And I said, hold on. That demographic you're trying to hit is the same people that watch these movies, which comes from this play and this urban theater market. And so I start speaking the marketing lingo. Hold on, how long are you in town for?
Yeah.
I'm here. Can we have a meeting tomorrow night? That was 5 years ago. I'm still getting checks from that relationship.
Right.
So even when you're acting on location, and I've done this in other cities and other countries. Did it in Canada. Did my first corporate Canadian gig while I was filming my series Alphas. Met a woman who represent speakers. I was like, well, you need to represent me, and created some opportunities where literally on my way to set, I go do a speaking gig for, Swatch watches to their sales team about teamwork.
Yeah.
And then I go to set. So it's really having that kind of mentality. Obviously, Tyler's a great example of someone who wasn't in the game and said, you know what, this is how I'm going to do it, and it's possible. And I think that and he's one of a few that have kind of been on the outside that have figured a way in on their own. I think at the end of the day, that's what we have to do. And I tell every actor out there, there's a book called An Empire of Their Own, How the Jews Created Hollywood. Read that book. And if you read that book, they give you the blueprint on how they did it.
And why do you want them to read it?
Because you need to know, if you're part of something, there's history that came before you. And it really wasn't brain surgery. It was just a fierce determination to do for self.
I've looked at Will Smith, and I've looked at the sister who was the raptor, Queen Latifah. And I've said, as African-American artists, by and large, they have really, there are two people that I point to that actualized greatly, and that they must, in addition to their talents, they must have a strong team.
100%.
How important is the team to the artist?
Critical. And you point to two people that Dana, Queen Latifah, her partner Shakim, they came up together.
Yeah.
They built Flavor Unit together.
Yeah.
They started in the music.
Yeah.
They built their whole thing together. Will went to school with James Lassiter, who's his right hand. They built it together. Same thing with Jamie. Jamie with Marcus King.
Yep.
I don't have that team. And I've looked for the team.
Yeah.
I've reached out for people that can be part of the team. That hasn't been my path so far, for whatever reason. It's not for lack of intention or desire. But you do need, in all those cases, they all had somebody that looked like them, that understood them, and understood both worlds, and understand how to play that.
Yeah.
So my team, my manager, my agents, they primarily understand film and TV, and I'm a bit of an anomaly. How do you represent somebody like me that's kind of doing all the different things? And so I just sort of let them stay in their lane, but if the right circumstance presented itself, I would bounce.
Let's stay on that for just a second, because there's someone that I know personally, and I use him and I juxtapose Usher, good-looking guy, great dancer. I don't know how well he sings, but he sold a whole lot of songs.
I think Usher's a great singer, but go ahead.
Okay. Genuine. Really good-looking dude. Great dancer. They probably sing equally well. Usher has made gazillions of dollars. Genuine has done okay. And I've often wondered, has it been, I know Genuine early in his career felt really, really burned by management and developed a palpable mistrust. And so therefore has pretty much tried to do things on his own. And Usher, on the other hand, has soared. And so I often, I often wonder how important that.
No, it's critical. Yeah. It's critical. I mean, I think about those things. And for me, I just find solace in my own ambition and abilities, and the fact that it's never been about being just an actor and being in one lane. I get just as excited walking by a construction site than I do being on a movie set, than I do in a classroom teaching, that I do directing, you know what I mean? I honestly do have the same level of like, let's make something. You know what I mean? Okay. And so I feel like you got to stay in the game. You got to be resilient. It's not over. I always feel like the best work is ahead of me, personally. And I'm comfortable with understanding I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. I don't want what the next man has. I may look at it and go, oh, that's cool.
That's nice.
But you know how many people looking at me like, I just want to be where he's at?
For sure, for sure. Your father said to you, build a generator. So when they're
Build your own generator.
build your own. What did that mean to you?
They meant that I had a paper route since I was 8 years old, and I've never not worked. It's do for self.
Yeah, yeah. What's your messages to? Tell me about this. Cause man, I find
These are good. Have you had some? Man?
I have. I ain't got no problem. You know, I kissed Nikki Giovanni when she was sitting there, and you know, I won't go there. Damn, they so good it made me forget what I was talking about.
These are good, man.
Made me forget my next question. When you talk to young kids today, here's what now I can remember. I want to hear Malik Yoba's thoughts and feelings about kids walking around, young brothers walking around with pants down past.
I got one for you. This for everybody.
Okay, tell me
look
about
at
it.
all your cameras. Got this?
Can I have a piece of your pineapple?
You can have some.
All right,
Have
thank
as much
man.
as you want.
All right.
It's my favorite little line to dudes with the pants sagging. Excuse me, bro. You drop something. Turn around. What? Your pants. You pick them up. They do it every single time.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes, if you don't like beat them down, you just say, hey, man, I'm sorry you dropped something. What? Oh, your pants. Oh, my bad.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
That's what I do.
I got a friend that gives them what he says is the history of the drop pants of the brothers in
They
prison.
don't care about all that.
You know what? And you don't get a lot of traction there.
They don't care about that.
You don't get a lot of traction. Yeah.
It's like if you call a young person, sir. Excuse me, sir. They litter. Excuse me, sir, you dropped something.
Yeah. So when you call them sir, you give them something that they might not have.
Exactly. That's what I do.
If you wave the magic wand, what would be your next project?
I always have multiple things going on. So, like I said, I just finished the script for AARP. I'm working on my one-man show. I'm producing some reality TV, about 3 shows right now.
Okay.
I'm working on...
Can you share the reality?
One deals with young people, cars, and scholarships.
Okay.
It's in the car world. It's in the auto world.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of kids that like cars and how we can get them educated through their love of cars, which is kind of dope concept. One is sort of like an American Idol for actors, and I'm actually also working on an app for that. I'm just, to me, it's all, at the end of the day, a lot of the things the main thing that stands between manifesting any of these is the resources, one of which is always capital. I'm never waiting for my next project. I just have to stay focused and stay home, essentially, and work. And the projects are there. In fact, and I'll give a little love to this organization right now since this is live. There's a group called, the West Side Community Services in San Francisco, which is the largest mental health organization for a community of color, I believe in the country, certainly in the state of California. And it's led by a wonderful woman named Dr. Marianne Jones. And I met Marianne while working out at a spin class, actually. And I was talking to her about the work that I'm doing at AARP, and she asked me if I could do similar kind of stuff for them. which has basically helped them tell their story, which is an amazing story that began in 1967, founded by Japanese Americans, African Americans, Chicanos coming together for, the health and wellness of that community.
Yeah.
And here we are 45 years later, and they're run up against gentrification and unions trying to shut them down because, frankly, the staff that doesn't look like the leadership.
We're going to go to the top of the hour. I want to tell my folks. We're going to go right to the top of the hour. Go ahead.
Yep. They wants to tell the leadership that they need to be doing things differently. And so it's a great story that has to be told.
Yeah.
So I was 2 o'clock in the morning last night. I'm talking to Mary Ann about she wants me to do marketing for them. And I want to help tell that story. So I might end up doing a documentary on that organization, which I think is a really important story to tell, and to help save that organization. And not just because of the history of it and her personally, but the work that they're doing around mental wellness. And so many of us in our community will not seek help.
Oh, man, the first hour today.
Yeah.
In the first hour, I had a gentleman on who witnessed his mother and his 12-year-old brother be brutally murdered by his mother's lover. The lover spared his life, but then killed himself. And the two guests that I had on talked greatly about the need for mental health from so many of our youth who are traumatized.
Absolutely.
One of them has a book. One of the gentlemen, Ron Moten, has a book. It's called Hurt People, Hurt People.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How would you describe love?
An enigma.
Misunderstood?
Misunderstood, an action word. We can quote the Bible. Love is patient. Love doesn't keep a record of wrong. It's, all those things. But, yeah, man.
You eating, man. I'm going to eat, too.
I love this food right now.
Yeah, man. I'm hungry.
Y'all enjoying your breakfast? Hey, man, you can't see all the people out there.
Now I want some of them blueberries. I wish we had some watermelon. So you're 46, so it's a long time away.
What?
The end.
I hope so.
But if you were to project, you've made an impact, man. You've made an impact.
Yes, sir.
We people dig you, man. They look and say, that's a solid brother right there. That's a good actor. He keeps his head on right, keeps his pants tight. What do you want on your tombstone?
He gave a fuck.
Okay. This is the internet, so I mean, we can with a capital F.
I'm in the give a fuck business.
Okay.
How about you?
Okay. So am I.
That's what I'm talking.
And I heard that when you was on New York Undercover, you did a lot of that.
You got to, man. You got to care, man. You got to care.
Yeah.
People often ask me, what do I feel is the secret to my longevity in this crazy business? And I really think it's how can I help you, help me, help you. People, I was talking to some kids here yesterday at Columbia Heights Educational Complex.
Sure.
Great school.
Yeah.
Give a shout out to my man Raquise Petrie, who invited me over there, and the principal, I forget her name, but wonderful woman who raised the money to build that great facility. And I was telling the kids, people talk about networking all the time. Well, you need to go over there and meet some people so they can help you do what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And most people approach that like, so what do you do?
Yeah.
All right, so then they think about, well, what they have going on, and how can I get what you have to help me?
Sure. Right.
As opposed to, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Get to where you're trying to go. And by helping you get to where you're trying to go, you help yourself.
Right. Yesterday, I was speaking to the coach who took Howard University to 2 national soccer championships. A lot of people in this day don't know that. 1971, 1974. They won it in 71. A racist NC2A took it away from them. They came back and they won it in 74. I was talking to him about where he's going. He's got a book coming out and perhaps some involvement in his whole project. And I said, man, I'm at a point in my life, well, I ain't trying to negotiate no hard deal. I want to try to create a win-win situation. If both of us can't win, I don't want to be involved. This was a big win here today, man. And I'm glad that you came to
This
be
food
involved
is
with
good,
it.
man.
This is Bus Boys and Poets. This is the Rock Newman Show, and we wrap up today. We'll be back next week. Same time, same
That
place.
right
I want to
there.
thank all my guests this hour, especially
That
Mr.
right there, man.
Malik Yoba.
That
See
right
you next
there.
week, same time, same place.
You're good food, man.